revealed the sinister truth behind 12 abandoned tourist sites that are terrifyingly haunted. On a sun-soaked Saturday morning, Sarah clutched the steering wheel of her well-worn minivan, her heart racing with excitement and unease. Today, she and her children would explore the shadows of their own town, diving into the ghostly folklore surrounding 12 abandoned tourist sites, each shrouded in whispers of decay and dread. This was about more than just chasing dreams. This was a desperate attempt to escape reality. As if we're going on a real adventure, she grinned, her voice betraying a tremor that even she tried to suppress. But Jake, her teenage son, rolled his eyes, the nonchalance masking the tension building in his chest. 10 minutes into the drive, their suburb unfolded like a forgotten novel. The streets felt heavy, the air thick with unspoken memories. Their first stop was an old amusement park, the rusted gates yawning open like a warning. The moment they stepped inside, Sarah felt a chill snaking around her spine, as if the park exhaled shadows steeped in sorrow. The laughter of children once filled the air but now echoed only in their minds. Lily darted ahead, drawn to the dilapidated carousel, its paint chipping away like memories fading with time. "Look, Mom, it's just like in the movies!" she squealed, but the joy was laced with tension. The sun dipped behind the trees, casting long fingers of shadow that twisted and turned far from the idyllic scene they envisioned. "Yeah, just like in the movies," Jake muttered, kickstarting the fear that hung thick in the atmosphere. The wind snapped through the remnants of the park, sending a shudder through the rotting wood beneath their feet. That's when Lily let out a soft giggle, whispering that the wind was calling her name. Sarah's heart sank as Jake's expression darkened, tightening into a frown that screamed of skepticism turned foreboding. "Let's go check out that old ticket booth over there," Sarah suggested, trying to sound light-hearted but failing as her gut wrenched at the thought. A sense of danger coiled in the air as they approached it. The booth stood apart, invitingly eerie, its weathered wood bearing scars of time and stories untold. She leaned closer, her pulse hammering in her ears, and there it was, warnings carved in jagged relief: "Beware the lost." Disturbing words that made her pulse race as dread washed over her. Jake grabbed Lily's hand, his expression shifting to raw panic. "Before we continue, I need to tell you something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to their system and many people are missing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and select all notifications so you don't miss future videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen." Now let's continue. The chill that had permeated the air thickened, tightening around them like a noose. Shadows danced, seemingly alive, as they stepped into the darkness of the old hotel nearby, rumored to be a haven for lost souls. The air thickened with palpable tension, each corner reverberating with unbidden memories. With every footstep, dread mounted as whispers echoed in their minds. "I don't like this, let's go," Jake urged, the pulse of fear thrumming through him, urging them back into the fading light. As darkness fell, Lily pointed to the old lobby sign. To Sarah's horror, the sign morphed into a sickly grin, just as shadows creeped ever closer, rivulets of dread pooling within the depths of her stomach. Suddenly, a frigid breeze swept through the lobby, sending shivers racing down Sarah's spine. The whispers grew louder, a sickening cacophony of despair. They were not alone. She could feel it, eyes, unseen yet intensely aware, bore down on them, waiting. With a racing heart and trembling hands, Sarah realized the adventure they sought was becoming something far darker. She had to protect them, but from what? And in this eerie maze of haunted locations, what secrets lay waiting in the shadows, ready to ensnare their very souls? The lobby felt alive, a suffocating nest of whispers melding into a haunting melody that struck a discordant note in Sarah's head. Her heart raced as she pressed her back against the cold, rotting wall, seeking comfort and stability. But it was gone, replaced by an overwhelming urge to flee. Mom Lily's voice trembled, unraveled by the oppressive atmosphere. The giggles that once danced in the air seemed to morph into something darker. Just moments ago, they had been on the cusp of adventure, now they stood on the precipice of a nightmare. A low, groaning creak echoed through the lobby as if the very structure of the hotel protested their presence. Jake strained to listen, trying to discern the source. "We need to leave. Now." His voice was urgent, laced with rising panic. The flickering lights overhead cast sinister shadows that flickered like restless spirits. With each blink, the shadows seemed to crawl toward them, unfurling like a lover's embrace, haunting, yet deadly. Sarah fought the impulse to scream, pulling her children close, her eyes darting around for a way out. "Where's the exit?" she whispered, sincerity coated with dread. Before she could think, Lily tugged at her hand, her soft voice breaking through the chaos. "Look!" She pointed toward an unmarked door at the far end of the lobby, barely visible through the thickness of the shadows. Fear wrestled with curiosity. "Do we go in there?" Jake asked, his voice cracking, betraying complete uncertainty. They were ensnared by the foreboding ambience, shadows swirling like a maelstrom around them, threatening to pull them under. Maybe there's another way out," Sarah replied, her mind racing, seeking reason amid the inexplicable. But deep down, an unsettling instinct warned her that whatever lay behind that door might not welcome them with open arms. With one trembling step after another, they moved toward the door. Sarah's heart thudded heavily in her chest, every sound amplified, brooding whispers merging into a chorus that felt almost like a sinister chant. Her instincts screamed to turn back, but the pull was undeniable. When they reached the door, it swung ominously open with a gentle push, revealing deep darkness beyond a room engulfed in shadows. A faint shiver raced down her spine, and as they crossed the threshold, the air thickened into an almost palpable force that constricted around them. Inside, Sarah glimpsed fleeting images darting at the corners of her vision, whispers of faces that seemed familiar yet foreign, their expressions twisted in agony. As if drawn by unseen forces, Jake turned toward the flickering light in the room, revealing what appeared to be a long, tarnished mirror. "Mom, look!" He stepped closer, his breath shaky, eyes wide with a mix of fear and fascination. The mirror reflected not just their images but other shapes impossibly contorted, faces pressed against the glass, hands reaching out as if inviting them in. Sarah gasped, her voice just a breath. "We need to go. Now!" But before she could pull her kids back, a cold breeze rushed past them, slamming the doors shut with a deafening crash. The air instantly turned stagnant, and the once soft whispers intensified into screams of anguish that reverberated through her bones. Trapped. The mirror shimmered ominously, and Sarah caught her reflection once more, a specter of fear, eyes darting as new shadows materialized. With every frantic heartbeat, she understood. They were not merely trapped in a room. They were entwined in a story written long before their arrival, one that might never let them leave. What was that voice now, rising above the cacophony? It called her name, a familiar lullaby steeped in terror. "Mom!" Jake grabbed her arm as something brushed against her shoulder, a shivering sensation that felt both tender and terrifying. Just when Sarah thought she could bear no more, a figure stepped from the shadows behind them, its features concealed, whispering secrets meant only to torment. And in that moment, as the darkness encircled them, she realized the adventure was far from over. What awaited them next? Could they uncover the truth hidden within the depths of the haunted mirror, or would they succumb to the darkness that had called them here? The figure loomed closer, a nebulous presence shifting with the shadows. Sarah held her breath, a stark chill wrapping around her limbs. The weight of unseen eyes bore down upon them, a sinister observer relishing their fear. "Jake, Lily," she whispered, trembling. The children shared her panic, their wide eyes reflecting the growing darkness. "Who are you?" Jake's voice quivered, trembling between bravery and absolute dread. The figure didn't respond but flickered like a candle close to extinction, its presence both unsettling and strangely compelling. "Run!" Sarah finally shouted, breaking the paralysis that had gripped her body. She turned to push against the now locked door, feeling the cold, unyielding surface. The whispers crescendoed, a tide of tortured souls crashing into her ears, begging for release, for understanding. With a sudden burst of clarity, she blinked at the mirror, taking in its strange allure. The reflection twisted as if anticipating her next move, showing her not just her family, but there passed a kaleidoscope of memories flickering in a tormenting dance. Was that her house? Her childhood street? Ghostly echoes of laughter splintering into a cacophony of distress pulled at her mind. "Mom!" Lily screamed, clutching onto her with fierce desperation. "It's not just a mirror!" Before Sarah could respond, the figure lunged forward, its arm outstretched, fingers elongated and ghost-like. Time stretched unbearably as she spun, ready to cover her children. But suddenly, the being melted into a nebulous cloud, wrapping around the mirror in tendrils of darkness, revealing glimmers of their own reflections fractured with fear. "Look at what you've become!" the whispers chanted in a cruel harmony. "Look at the truth! Your past is ever present." Images cascaded forth, moments of weakness and despair, shadows of poor choices trailing in darkness. Desperate arguments. Forgotten promises. Frayed dreams. Each scene tinged the air with bitterness, thickening it with despair that clung to her skin. She felt as if the walls of the forgotten room were closing in, compressing her reality into a singular void. "Mom, make it stop!" Jake struggled against the pressure, grasping for her as Lily hid her face in Sarah's arm, seeking refuge from the chaotic turmoil. "No! You can't run from this!" The figure roared, its voice a thunderclap that reverberated through the air, mingling with the mist of memories. "You must face those you've abandoned." Sarah struggled between her duties as a mother and her own haunting past. The whispers morphed into frantic pleas that echoed her own fears. I can't face it alone." Suddenly, the mirror warped violently. It fractured like glass as each image plunged deeper into the depths of its surface. From the shards, grasping hands clawed out toward her, seeking her. Screaming faces pleaded without sound, each vying for her attention, hard truths spilling from their lips like venom. The floor trembled beneath their feet, the shadows shifting with increasing fury. "Mom!" Jake cried again, catching her with desperate eyes. "We have to stick together. Stay away from the mirror!" Sarah shouted as she backed away, keeping her children close, the panic rising into her throat. With sheer determination, she yanked them back toward the door, pounding her fist against it, expecting it to give way to escape. But it held firm, the pounding sounds only echoing back their own desperation. Just then, a brief glow flickered from the mirror, something between the darkness and the light. In that fleeting moment, she made a choice. "We can't go back to what's broken," she shouted, somehow knowing they had to confront it, or be consumed by it. The being's laughter twisted into the screams of the souls within, and Sarah took a step forward, knowing that within the darkness lay a twisted path to unimaginable truths. The air crackled with energy as she reached for the mirror, her fingers trembling. Would this lead to salvation or seal their fate forever? The world held its breath, waiting for the moment to shatter when they stepped toward the truth. Would they release the pain anchored in the shadows, or would the darkness envelop them forevermore? The moment Sarah's fingers touched the cool surface of the mirror, a jolt of electricity pulsed through her. The room swirled with energy, swirling shadows enveloping her and her children. A deafening silence fell, broken only by the harrowing whispers that echoed around them like a lost chorus. Mom, Jake's voice trembled, pulling her from the disorienting haze ripping through her mind. "We're here together," she replied, her heart racing as she fought to stay present for them. The figure in the mirror shifted again, its form solidifying, revealing a gaunt face with hollow eyes that seemed to draw the very light from the room. "Face the reality you've buried," it hissed, voice sinister and cold, slicing through Sarah's resolve. The images danced chaotically within the depths of the mirror, and without warning, a shadowy hand shot forth, grasping at Sarah's wrist. She recoiled, startled, and pulled her children close. The grasping fingers melted away, but the grasp of memories clawed harder at her heart. "How do we fight this?" Sarah gasped, glancing desperately at her children. Their eyes were filled with the fear of what lay beyond their safe bubble. Could they fight this darkness together, or would it tear them apart? "Face our truth!" Jake shouted. "Mom, we've seen it. All the times we pretended everything was fine." The figure laughed, an echo of mirth mixed with despair that settled over them like a heavy fog. A spectral light flared anew, illuminating the chaotic past like a spotlight on a sinister stage. Flickering scenes appeared, Sarah's formless encounters with her own failures, the times she turned away from her children's pain, moments where she chose convenience over connection. "Let us in! Let us remind you!" The figure beckoned, its voice oily and serpentine. "No!" Sarah shouted, clutching Jake and Lily closer, as if they were a lifeline in an ocean of chaos. "We can't let it win!" Yet, with each heartbeat, the memories crashed over them like waves, relentless, consuming. Sarah's breath hitched as old arguments resurfaced, echoes of her discontent inching closer. "This isn't real. It can't be!" She stumbled back, her voice breaking. The figure surged, its form expanding, filling the reflection with a cacophony of her past, the playground arguments, the exhausted evenings, the moments she let fear fracture her family. Faces materialized, appearing like specters behind the glass, each one a haunting reminder of her failures. "Do you see?" it whispered, a siren-esque call. "You have no power here!" In that moment, fear gripped her, and the walls quaked as if daring her to take one step back. Her breath came fast, slick sweat welling on her brow as she fought against the dark tide. "I refuse to be afraid." Sarah struggled to push the panic aside, her heart outpacing her thoughts. "I won't let you take us." As if responding, the mirror pulsed in response. Cracks splintered wider across its surface, each jagged line glowing with a dark light. The whispers rose to a scream, thrumming against her skull, pulling her deeper into the reflection's pull. "Make it stop!" "M.O.M." Lily wailed, tears streaming down her cheeks, her small body trembling against the swell of despair in the room. Sarah clenched her fists, a surge of resolve washing over her. "Together! We face this together!" she shouted, mustering every ounce of strength. "We are more than what we've lost!" The mirror erupted with a deadly shriek, fracturing beneath the weight of truth. Light and dark clashed within, while flickers of hope and shadows of despair played a violent game. Could they escape this madness? Or was it already too late? In that final, chaotic moment, the crack widened, and a vortex of light shimmered through. The figure screamed an echo of warning and promise as it reached out, grasping to pull them all into its abyss. "Sarah! Don't!" Jake shouted, but it was almost drowned out by the swirling chaos. The air trembled around them, vibrating with tension. What comes next? Will they break free from the nightmare, or be lost within their darkest fears forever? The crack in the mirror widened, and for a heartbeat, it seemed to pulse with the potential of rebirth and escape or a deeper descent. Sarah could feel her soul trembling at the precipice, drawn between the light and the shadow. She had to decide, had to act before the darkness fully engulfed them. "Mom!" Jake's voice cut through her fog. "What do we do?" "Hold on to me!" she shouted, panic surging through her veins as she grasped their small hands tightly. "We run. We run together." With a fierce breath, they stepped forward as one, trusting in each other. As they moved, the darkness shifted like a living entity, swirling to push them back. Desperate, Sarah shouted, "You don't control us. We are not your puppets." The figure inside the mirror screeched, its form twisting violently as shards of glass sprayed outward, each shard glinting with dark possibilities. The air thickened, suffocating her resolve, but Sarah pressed on, refusing to let the memories drown them. "Keep moving," she urged. Their feet pounded the floor as they raced through the room, shadows snapping at their heels like ravenous hounds. The reflection quivered behind them, the voices rising once more, filled with anguish and regret. "You can't escape. You belong here." "No!" Sarah shouted back, conjuring every ounce of courage. "The past is a part of us, yes, but it doesn't define us." With each step, an unseen force yanked at her, trying to tether her to the past. Images flickered before her eyes like dying flames, failed attempts at self-improvement, missed dinners where they were all present but still worlds apart, whispers of frustration echoing through empty hallways. It gripped her heart, threatening to claim her spirit. "We are still moving forward," she reminded herself, willing herself to push past the suffocating darkness. They reached the edge of the mirror-esque shimmer, light bleeding through the cracks. Unfurling like the first rays of dawn, the light reached out to them, beckoning with acceptance. The figure writhed, its form distorting with rage, the hollow eyes now burning with an unnatural fire. "Don't let it take you!" Jake cried. Together they dove into the light, hearts pounding, breathless, a leap into the unknown. In an instant, everything changed. The world twisted around them, colors swirling and crashing like waves upon a stormy shore. And then it all stopped. They landed hard on a cold, marble floor, gasping for breath. Sarah blinked, trying to comprehend their surroundings. They were no longer in the eerie room but instead found themselves in an expansive, echoing hall that stretched infinitely in all directions. Statues of forgotten figures loomed in shadows, their eyes seeming to follow every move. The air was thick with the scent of decay and whispered secrets. "Where are we?" Lily whimpered, her voice echoing hauntingly, swallowed by the vastness. "I don't know," Sarah replied, a knot tightening in her stomach. "Maybe we escaped?" But even as she said it, a chilling wind swept through the hall, whispering threats laden with anguish. Shadows flickered at the corners, and once again, they could hear the siren's call of haunting laughter. "Welcome, welcome, you've only just begun." The words resonated through Sarah's bones, reverberating with familiar dread. They had evaded one nightmare, but what if they had just entered another? Fear crept back in, coiling around her heart like a constricting snake. "Mom, what do we do?" Jake's face was pale, his eyes darting around the darkened hall. "Stay close. Whatever comes next, we face it together," she whispered, her fingers tightening around theirs. But as they cautiously stepped forward, the ground began to tremble beneath them. Walls shifted and morphed, the light flickering ominously. The laughter grew louder, more insistent. "You were meant to join us forever!" A moment of stillness fell, as dread pressed against their chests. In the vast echoing chamber, a door appeared, gilded and adorned with strange symbols. "Should we risk it?" Sarah breathed, every pulse in her body screaming to retreat. But then the door creaked open slightly, an opulent light spilling from within, illuminating their faces with a golden glow. "Mom," Jake whispered, his voice trembling. Inside, something awaited them, and Sarah knew whatever lurked in that light could change everything. Would it be salvation, or would it draw them deeper into the abyss? With a heart pounding in her throat, she took a step toward the door, a new terror threading through her mind. Should we? But the door began to close on its own, the image of their reflection looming in the darkness behind them. What comes next? Can they uncover the truth behind the door, or will they be lost forever in a never-ending nightmare? The door swung open wide, revealing a luminous corridor that stretched like an endless tongue of light, beckoning them closer. It twinkled like stars against the velvet sky, but even so, the unsettling laughter clung to the edges, a dark reminder of their precarious situation. "Mom, I don't like it." Lily's voice trembled as she took a small step back, her small fingers slipping from Sarah's grip. "Stay with me," Sarah commanded, gripping both her children tightly, their fear mingling with her own. They stepped into the corridor, the air thick with the scent of honey and decay. The walls seemed to pulse with a heartbeat, faint but rhythmic, matching the racing of Sarah's heart. With each step, she expected to feel the floor drop away, or the walls close in. But the light was relentless, illuminating dark corners, and for a brief moment, the laughter faded into a distant echo. Yet as they walked further, the corridor shifted. The golden light flickered, the shadows deepening with every heartbeat until it felt as though lurking shapes were pulling back, gathering, waiting. "Look!" Jake shouted, pointing to one of the walls. Intricate carvings emerged from the shadows, detailing twisted and anguished faces, locked in expressions of torment. "They're trapped. Let us go back," Lily whimpered. "No. We need to see this through. For Dad." The words tasted bitter, a reminder of their loss, but Sarah pushed them aside. They had to keep moving forward. Suddenly, the laughter returned, mingling with high-pitched whispers that slithered through the air like wraiths intent on mischief. "You can't leave. This is where you belong." It felt personal, as if they were being called by names of old, a sweet promise wrapped in dread. Then, the corridor took a sharp turn, revealing a massive chamber bathed in cold blue light. It was a flash of contrast against everything they had seen before, an icy expanse that sent shivers down their spines. In the center stood a colossal statue, its eyes hollow and wide, yet eerily aware, following their every move. The lips curled into a knowing grin, oozing malevolence. "Do you see it?" Sarah asked, her voice barely above a whisper. "The statue, it looks like it's watching us let us go." "Now!" Jake yanked at her arm, trying to pull her back toward the corridor. But the ground trembled again, and with a violent shake, the walls started to close in on them. The threat was suddenly palpable, a crushing force. "We belong to the darkness," the whispers taunted, intertwining with the laughter in a cacophony of despair. "Run!" Sarah shouted, but the path back was already shifting, morphing into a confusing maze. Panic clawed within her, making it hard to breathe. "Mom! I can't see!" Lily cried, still clinging to Sarah as shadows swirled about them like angry wasps. "Stay close." Sarah's heart raced anew, the fear for her kids igniting primal instincts. The walls were alive with movement now, breathing like a living beast, hungry and twisted. They rushed forward, fueled by desperation, the laughter growing frantic and discordant. Just when she thought they were about to burst into another realm, the statue's face twisted, mouth opening wider, revealing rows of jagged teeth. A sound erupted from its depths, a deafening roar that shook the very bones of the chamber. "Mom! It's coming for us!" Jake shouted, his screams mingling with the echo of horror. "Keep running!" Sarah urged, propelling them forward through the chaos, unaware of where they were headed. Suddenly they stumbled upon another door, this one hanging loosely from its frame. It seemed different from the others, rusted and rotting, an entirely new kind of foreboding. "Do we dare?" Sarah pondered aloud, every word laced with dread. But even as she stood there, a sweat-drenched fear consuming her, she could feel the icy tendrils of darkness creeping closer, ready to snatch them away. "Mom, we have to!" Jake insisted, tugging at her sleeve. The decision loomed heavy, and as the darkness rushed towards them, she wasted no time. They hurled themselves through the threshold, the door slamming shut behind them with a finality that echoed like doom. What awaited them on the other side? Sarah's breaths came in quick gasps, heart hammering against her ribcage, but just before the door faded from view, the voice from behind whispered, "You can't hide forever." What lay ahead could turn their nightmare into something far worse. Would they unravel its terrifying secrets, or would they succumb to the haunting call of the void? They stumbled into the darkness, a palpable silence swallowing them whole. The door slammed shut behind them, the sound echoing like a gunshot in an empty canyon, and for a moment, they were enveloped in an unsettling peace. But that peace was short-lived. The oppressive stillness of the new space quickly bled into uneasy whispers, slithering against their ears like cold, slithering snakes. Shadows clung tightly to the corners, as if eager to devour any light that dared to intrude. Sarah dared not breathe. It felt wrong, dangerous. Where are we?" Jake asked, voice shaking. "I don't know," Sarah replied, peering into the gloom. "Just hold on to each other." Their hands clasped together, a fragile tether in the tightening darkness. As her eyes adjusted to the dimness, outlines began to emerge. The walls around them were covered in old, peeling wallpaper, patterns of wilted roses obscured by grime. Despite the decay, the roses appeared to writhe under the surface, petals twisting as if they retained a heartbeat. "Mom, I can't see anything," Lily whimpered, her small frame quaking beside them. "Shh!" Sarah whispered, heart racing. That laughter, now close, was an echo of mocking whispers. "We have to stay quiet," but there was no escaping the sound. It twined around them, chilling, cruel. It felt as if the very walls laughed at their foolishness for seeking shelter. Suddenly, a shadow moved across the far wall. Sarah's breath hitched. It wasn't just her imagination, something was lurking, watching. "Mom!" Jake hissed, his voice trembling on the edge of panic. Sarah squinted but could see nothing, Just the creeping sensation of eyes, countless eyes. She could almost feel them boring into her back, dissecting her fear. "We need to keep moving," she said, half urging, half commanding. They crept forward, their feet shuffling on the cold floor. Then they reached a narrow archway lined with dusty frames, the images obscured. As they stepped closer, a flicker of light danced beyond, revealing intriguing shapes. "What's that?" Lily's curiosity pierced the thick tension. "Look!" Jake shouted, pointing to the archway. Sarah's heart sank. A long table stretched through a dimly lit room, set for a meal long abandoned. Plates, rotting food, and silverware lay scattered as if a banquet had suddenly been interrupted. An eerie stillness draped over it like a shroud. A sudden gust sent chills racing down Sarah's spine. The whispers escalated into excited shrieks, clamoring for attention. "You're invited!" they hissed, words curling in the air like smoke. "No, no," Sarah muttered, willing herself to stand strong, shield her children from the madness. "We're not staying, we have to go." But the children were frozen, drawn toward the table as if under a spell. "Mom! It looks like a party!" Jake leaned closer, mesmerized by the decaying delicacies. "No!" Sarah gripped his arm, terror seeping into her voice. "That's not real. We can't stay here." But just then, from the corner of her eye, something shifted, a tall shadow rising from behind the table, twisted and unnaturally tall. It moved with an unnatural grace, gliding across the floor toward them. "Mom!" Lily cried, terror lacing her words, breaking the spell over Jake. In an instant, they turned, scrambling back through the archway. The shadows twisted around them, growing thicker, suffocating. The laughter rippled, sinister, growing louder, drowning out their frantic hearts. They ran, but every step felt heavy, like moving through tar. The whispers chased them, echoing with manic delight, "Join us! Join us!" A flash of desperation crossed Sarah's mind. She had to reach the door, had to escape the impending darkness before it consumed them entirely. But as they reached what they thought was an exit, her heart dropped. It was just another wall, featureless and closing in. Panic clawed at her throat. "No! No!" She pounded against the surface, but it did not yield. Behind them, the laughter crescendoed, a wave of madness crashing over them. The room twisted, morphing into a warren of impossible paths. "No more running!" a voice boomed, reverberating through the chamber, echoing in the depths of her mind. And just as the walls began to pulse with life, squeezing them from all sides, Sarah felt her grip on reality slip. This was a reality forged from suffering, mocking their every attempt at escape. "Do you see? You are part of this now." The shadows crept closer, oozing terror. "Fight it!" Sarah shouted, pulling her children close, anger fueling her desperation. As their cries clashed against the laugh-tinged voices, the chamber flickered an electric moment of clarity. In that instant, trapped yet resolute, they knew they were not just players in this game. They were the keys to its downfall or its consummation, and they had to choose. But as the shadows lunged, closing in like jaws intent on devouring, she couldn't help but wonder, how could one fight an enemy that knew their every fear? The vision of another door appeared behind the chaos, a shimmering, faintly glowing portal that promised escape. But was it a way out or merely another trap? Sarah braced herself. Would they dare step through? The air thickened as Sarah took a hesitant step toward the shimmering portal. It pulsed gently, flickering like a star teetering on the edge of collapse. With her heart pounding in her ears, she could feel uncertainty swathe her thoughts. Was this a chance for salvation or the beginning of a new nightmare? "Mom, what if it's safe?" Jake said, his voice wavering between hope and dread. "It's not safe," Sarah snapped, the words escaping her lips like a jagged breath. "We don't even know where it leads." She could feel the shadows tightening, sensing her hesitation as an invitation to pounce. Lily clutched her mother's leg, eyes wide with fear. "I don't want to go back, but I don't want to go through that either." Her small voice trembled, and Sarah's heart broke at her daughter's terror. The whispers danced around them, a chilling cacophony. "Join us! Join us!" they sang, taunting. The shadows pressed in tighter, urging her forward. The temptation to step through mixed violently with her instincts to protect her children. "Let us look for another way, anything but that," Sarah urged, scanning the dimness for a flicker of hope. But the walls twisted, curling inward as if they were alive and hungry. Suddenly, the laughter stopped. Silence enveloped them, thick and suffocating. Sarah's throat tightened, the shadows pulsed with a dark satisfaction, poised to strike. "Mom," Jake whispered, fear rendering him small and fragile, I think they want something from us." His words hung in the air, heavy with meaning. It wasn't just a desire to keep them there, it was something more, something that needed them for its own gain. But what did the darkness want? A low growl resonated from the depths of the chamber, spiraling from the darker corners where shadows blended into one another. The air vibrated with malevolent intent, and for just a heartbeat, the walls seemed to tremble with anticipation. "Run!" Sarah shouted, snatching her children's hands, pulling them with her. They sprinted towards the portal, the only glimmer of light left in this world of despair. The growl morphed into cruel laughter once more, echoing the insanity of this place. But as they neared the portal's edge, it flickered ominously. It dimmed and brightened, as if life itself wrestled within it. The shadows chased them, a dark wave intent on tearing them apart. "Mom, what if it's a trap?" Lily cried out, tugging at Sarah's arm, not wanting to let go yet unable to retreat. "The whole place is a trap," Sarah spat back, voice thick with urgency. "We have no choice." With one final push, they dove for the portal, arms outstretched, hearts drumming with fear and desperation. Just as they reached the edge, the shadows lunged. Tendrils of darkness snapped at their heels, howling in fury, eager to reclaim their lost prey. In that split second, time seemed to slow. Sarah felt the chilling breath of the shadows against her skin, as if grasping for her spirit. But then, with an explosion of light, they barreled through the portal. What awaited them on the other side sent a jolt of terror through her. The ground beneath them opened into an abyss of swirling blackness. They were falling into an endless void, screams trapped in their throats. As they spiraled into the darkness, Sarah's last thought echoed painfully: had they really escaped, or only traded one nightmare for another? And just as her vision faded into that all-consuming darkness, a voice whispered close, laden with mockery, "Welcome home." What twisted reality had they entered, and what else lurked in the shadows of this new world? The void swallowed them whole, a tight grip of despair. Silence clung to Sarah like a shroud, thick and impenetrable. She felt weightless, suspended in an abyss where time and fear twisted, disoriented. Just as her senses began to dull, a harsh light pierced the darkness, blinding her. With a violent jolt, they landed, and the world exploded into chaos. Rough ground scraped against her palms, jolting her senses back to life. She heard Jake's piercing scream and Lily's whimper, a chilling reminder of their fragile state. "Are you okay?" Sarah gasped, rolling onto her side, instinctively searching for her children. She blinked at the harsh light overhead, while her hands fumbled in the dirt. "Mom!" Jake's voice pierced through her panic, pulling her attention. Lily lay motionless beside him. "Mom, I can't move!" "Lily!" Sarah crawled towards her daughter, lungs burning from the dust. Lily's eyes fluttered open, confusion clouding her tiny face. "I don't like this place," she squeaked, trying to push herself up but trembling as she did. Sarah's heart raced. The new world was unlike anything she could have imagined. They were in a vast landscape, twisted and deformed, a surreal mix of shadow and light. The ground was cracked, bleeding into withered roots and unfurling black vines that seemed to writhe, eager to capture their feet. "Stay close," Sarah barked, pulling Lily upright. She could already feel the shadows lurking just beyond the harsh light. Cautiously, they took unsteady steps forward, needing to find shelter, a refuge from the chaos that loomed just at the edge of their vision. Suddenly, the air shifted. A low rumble vibrated through the ground, resonating with ominous intent. It sent shivers racing up Sarah's spine. She spun around, desperate for the source, but only shadows danced, mocking her pursuit. "We need to keep moving," Sarah insisted, gripping Jake and Lily's hands tightly. Each step felt like they were walking on a knife's edge, the world shifting beneath them, tension coiled in the air, taut and suffocating. They trudged forward, eyes darting as they scanned their bizarre surroundings. And then she saw it, a structure up ahead, looming like a broken tooth against the stained sky. It looked twisted, almost wrong, like it was alive, a grotesque silhouette against the shimmering horizon. "What is that?" Jake asked, pointing, his voice barely a whisper. "I don't know," Sarah replied, heart pounding. "But we have to find out." Each word dripped with dread, the bell tolling in her mind. As they approached, the light dimmed again, shadows pooling around their feet. The building was larger than it appeared, stairs winding up into thick darkness, an entrance gaping like a mouth ready to swallow them whole. "Please don't make us go in there," Jake trembled, squeezing Lily's hand. But the shadows responded, whispering with chilling clarity, "You must enter, you will understand, stop." Sarah shouted, thrusting her back against Jake and Lily. Her breath hitched as the air thickened around them, every whisper like a claw scraping down her spine. It was a trap, they were bait in a hunt, and the darkness was tightening its grip. "What do they want from us?" Lily asked, her voice quivering, eyes filled with fear. Maybe they want us to join them," Jake suggested, voice trembling. "Join? No! We want to be their puppets," Sarah declared, feeling the weight of her children's fear anchoring her. With a surge of will, she stepped toward the entrance, heart racing. "We're not afraid!" But with that declaration, shadows surged forward, encircling them, writhing like serpents hungry for prey. The door creaked open with a sound like death, inviting them into the abyss. And behind them, the dark voices cackled with delight, echoing the sinister promise. Welcome to your new reality. What awaited them inside? Would they find answers, or become yet another part of the shadows' twisted game? The darkness closed in, whispering promises and threats in equal measure. Sarah took a deep breath, grounding herself. "Stay close, we're going in together," she said, her voice steadier than her heart felt. With jaws clenched, they stepped over the threshold. Inside, a strange glow illuminated what looked like a gallery lined with countless paintings, each depicting hauntingly familiar scenes. Faces twisted in agony stared back at them, eyes filled with despair that felt all too real. The air was heavy with a sense of foreboding, but Sarah steeled herself. They were close, she could feel it. "Look at that one," Jake pointed at a painting depicting a family sitting around a dinner table, empty eyes gazing at an empty plate. "It looks just like us." "Shh!" Sarah hushed him, desperate to keep panic at bay. Yet even as she spoke, echoes of remorse flooded her mind, ghostly reminders of another dinner, another chance missed. She shook her head, banishing those thoughts. This was about surviving, about breaking free. Suddenly, the paintings began to shimmer, as if alive. Shadows seeped from the canvases, swirling around them like dark smoke, pulling at their souls. "They want us to join them," Lily gasped, clutching her mother. "Do not let it take you. We're stronger than this," Sarah shouted, forcing herself to believe it, her voice cutting through the commanding whispers. That flicker of hope inside her grew. When she looked at Jake and Lily, she saw their fear transform into determination, a bond unbending. As she led them deeper into the gallery, a door at the far end emerged, intricately carved with symbols that pulsed like a heartbeat. "We need to get to that door," she urged, fear battling with hope. As they sprinted forward, tendrils of shadow snapped at their heels, desperate to ensnare them in despair. "Here! Hold on to me!" she shouted, gripping their hands tight, feeling the warmth of their little fingers grounding her. They reached the door, its frame flickering alive with brilliant light, pushing against the encroaching gloom. Without a pause, Sarah pushed it open, the light pouring over them like a second sun. They stumbled through, breaking the fabric of the oppressive darkness behind them. And then it felt like flying. The world around them exploded into bursts of color, colors they didn't know existed. They landed softly on grassy earth instead of an abyss, their surroundings suddenly serene, vibrant, alive. The shadows that chased them flickered and shrank back, powerless against the daylight of their new reality. Lily blinked and burst into laughter, her voice pure and bright. We did it, Mom! We made it! Jake grinned, his fear replaced by awe. Are we safe now? Sarah felt the weight of the world lift from her shoulders, a warmth blooming in her chest. Yes, we're free. And as they stood hand in hand, she realized the truth: they had not just escaped, they had faced their fears. They had chosen to fight against the darkness, emerging into the light together. But in the corner of her mind, a whisper lingered, a reminder of the shadows they left behind. Just remember, she murmured, kneeling before her children, the darkness will always try to echo. We must stay strong together. Their laughter rang out again, bright as the sun now shining on them. They could see the beauty around them, the trees swaying, the sky vast and open. This was a moment to cherish, to rebuild. In the distance, a path unfurled, leading into a sun-drenched horizon. As they began to walk forward, hand in hand, Sarah knew it would be a journey worth taking. A journey marked by courage, love, and the promise that they would face whatever came next together. And as they stepped confidently into the light, the silhouette of the haunted gallery disappeared behind them, forever a shadow of the past, a painful reminder, yet also a testament to their resilience. The adventure was far from over, but for now, they were finally free. Don't let this journey end here. You need to subscribe immediately to the channel so you don't miss the next exclusive stories. Smash that like button now to feed the algorithm and help us find more true fans. Flood the comments section with your reactions and theories about the ending. I want to hear all your thoughts. And for goodness sake, instantly share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. Don't wait even one more second to share. Your support means everything to keep these stories alive.